They're human. They mattered.
And I'm glad that he is getting a consequence, but it'll never amount to the pain and suffering that me and my family and loved ones have felt since this all started.
I can't even make any more memories. The 7 years was all I had, and it's all because of Kirkland Warren. And I want him to suffer every single day.
On Wednesday morning, the Clark County Sheriff's Office got a call from someone who was walking on this rural road in Washougal. The caller described what they believed to be two life-sized mannequins down an embankment near a creek. But when deputies arrived on scene, they discovered two bodies.
March 22, 2023. A dog walker in Washougal, Washington dials 911, voice shaking. They've spotted something down a ravine, something that looks like two life-size mannequins tossed into the brush. Deputies rush to the scene, hoping it's nothing, but when they climb down that embankment, they find a nightmare waiting. Two bodies, partially clothed, discarded like garbage in the thick woods off a rural road. For 10 days, a family had been searching, praying, begging for answers.
It's Sunday since anybody heard, seen, or talked to my daughter and granddaughter.
I'm missing a whole part of me. That's my sister and that's my niece. We don't know where they're at.
Now their worst fears were confirmed in the most horrific way possible. But here's where this story gets even darker. The man last seen with them? He was already out on bail for murder in another state. And just days before they disappeared, he'd been arrested for shooting at the mother's apartment. The court knew he was dangerous. They ordered protection. They set conditions. And then they let him walk free anyway? No ankle monitor, no real supervision, just a man with nothing to lose and a grudge to settle. What happened in those final hours? How does someone with a pending murder charge get released to kill again? And how many red flags does it take before the system actually protects the people it's supposed to serve? Welcome to Shadows of Crime, where we don't just tell the story, we expose the failures that let monsters roam free. If you're ready for the truth, hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and drop a comment telling us where you're watching from today. Trust me, you're not ready for what comes next. Before we talk about the monster who destroyed her life, let's talk about who Meshe Melendez really was, because she deserves to be remembered as more than just a headline. Meshe was 27 years old, living in Vancouver, Washington, and if you asked anyone who knew her, they'd tell you the same thing. She was full of energy, full of laughter, the type of friend who'd drop everything to wipe away your tears and make you smile again. She had this warmth about her that made people feel safe, loved, seen. But the center of Meshe's entire universe? That was her daughter, Layla Stewart. 7 years old, bright eyes, infectious laugh, a little girl who loved school, loved playing with her friends, and loved her mama more than anything in this world. They weren't just mother and daughter, they were best friends, inseparable. You'd see them together at community events, making memories, sharing inside jokes, living life side by side. Meshe worked hard to give Layla the kind of childhood she deserved, a safe home, stability, love. She wasn't perfect, nobody is, but she was trying. She was fighting to build something good for her little girl. Her family was tight-knit. Her mother, Nicolay Norris, was her rock. Her brother, Ricardo Melendez, was always there when she needed him. They were the kind of family that showed up for each other no matter what. And when Meshe needed them most, they rallied around her. Let's talk about Kirkland Warren. Kirkland Warren, 28 years old, Meshe's ex-boyfriend, the father of her child. and a man who should have been behind bars long before he ever crossed her path. Let's rewind to 2017, Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Warren shoots a man named Curtis Eckhart and dumps his body in a ditch on a gravel road near Stuttgart. When police catch up to him, he admits it, recorded confession, and everything. His story? Eckhart wanted money. Warren said no. Then, according to Warren, he became fearful for his life and pulled the trigger. Murder. Abuse of a corpse. Serious charges that should have kept him locked up for years. But here's the kicker. Warren's family posted 10% of his $250,000 bond, and just like that, he walked free. Pending trial, sure. But free. Authorities in Arkansas said they weren't worried. Why? Because Warren came from a notable family in the area. He wasn't considered a flight risk, no criminal history before this, no red flags, they claimed. So they let him go. No ankle monitor, no restrictions, just a man accused of murder, free to move wherever he wanted. And where did he go? Vancouver, Washington, with the full knowledge of his lawyer and prosecutors back in Arkansas. That's where he met Michelle. At first, things probably seemed fine, maybe even good. There are videos of them together, laughing, joking around, sharing moments that look normal on the surface, but behind closed doors, the relationship was anything but. Warren was controlling, volatile, dangerous. By December 2022, things had escalated to a breaking point. Warren didn't just threaten Michelle. He showed up at her apartment building and opened fire. A drive-by shooting, bullets tearing through the night, shattering any illusion of safety she had left. Michelle did what she was supposed to do. She reported it, she cooperated with police, she got a protection order against him. That's what this was really about. Not love, not reconciliation. Control. And fear. Fear that if those domestic violence charges stuck, he'd be extradited back to Arkansas to face that 2017 murder trial he'd been dodging for years. Warren chastised Michelle for showing police the screenshots of his threatening texts. He made it clear. She needed to fix this. She needed to make it go away. But Michelle wasn't backing down this time. She wasn't dropping the charges. She wasn't letting him control her anymore. And that made her a problem he needed to eliminate. Let's break down exactly how badly the system screwed this up, because every single failure here is a nail in Mesha and Layla's coffin. March 2, 2023, Warren gets arrested for shooting at Michelle's apartment. He's charged with drive-by shooting, assault with a deadly weapon, harassment, serious stuff. And remember, he's already out on bail for a 2017 murder charge in Arkansas. March 3rd, Warren appears in court. Bail is set at $100,000, and he's ordered to have no contact with Michelle. Sounds reasonable, right? Except, here's what happened next. Less than 2 hours after that no-contact order was issued, Warren picked up a jail phone and called Michelle. Twice. Blatant violation, right there in the system's face. The Vancouver police sergeant handling the domestic violence unit saw what was happening and filed a declaration of probable cause that same day. In it, he requested the court raise Warren's bail and require GPS monitoring if he was released. He cited the severity of the charges, the pending murder case in Arkansas, and the fact that Warren had already violated the no-contact order from a jail cell. But here's the part that should make your blood boil. Warren also scored a 31 on something called an extreme risk danger assessment. This is a tool law enforcement uses to measure how likely a domestic violence offender is to kill their victim. Anything above 18 is considered extreme lethal risk. Warren scored 31. Let that sink in. The system had a number, a scientifically backed assessment that screamed, "This man is going to kill someone." And they had it in writing. March 7th, Warren appears in court again for violating the no-contact order. The judge makes it crystal clear. Warren is not to be released until he's fitted with a GPS ankle monitor that includes victim notification capability. That means if he gets anywhere near Michelle, she'd get an alert. It's supposed to be her lifeline. March 8th, Warren posts $10,000 bail, a fraction of the original $100,000, and walks out the door. No GPS monitor installed, none. He was supposed to report to pretrial services within 24 hours of his release. It's a standard condition. Show up, check in, prove you're complying with the terms of your release. Warren never showed up, and nobody did anything about it. March 10, 2 days after he's released, Warren strolls into court for his next scheduled appearance. In person, right there in front of Clark County probation officers who should have known he violated his release conditions by failing to report. They did nothing, no arrest, no consequences. He walked right back out. Meanwhile, back in Arkansas, prosecutors were scrambling. Seymour Tadlock, the deputy prosecutor handling Warren's 2017 murder case, got notified on March 2 that Warren had been arrested in Washington. She was told his bail was set at $100,000 and that he had a court appearance coming up. But she didn't receive the official paperwork from Clark County until March 14. That's when she filed a motion to revoke Warren's Arkansas bail. By then it was too late. Warren had already posted bail in Washington and been released on March 8. If his Arkansas bail had been revoked sooner, Warren would have been held as a fugitive pending extradition. He wouldn't have been free. Michelle and Layla would still be alive. But bureaucracy moves slow, communication between states even slower. And while the system dragged its feet, Warren had 4 days of freedom. 4 days to plan, 4 days to act, 4 days to destroy 2 lives. The court knew he was dangerous. The police knew he was dangerous. The danger assessment screamed he was dangerous. And they let him walk anyway. Drop a comment right now and tell me, do you think the system failed Michelle and Layla? Because from where I'm standing, this wasn't just a failure. This was negligence. This was bureaucracy, choosing paperwork over people. And 2 lives were lost because of it. And here's guilt trip number 2. If you're still not subscribed, what are you even doing? We're out here shining a light on these cases, holding the system accountable, making sure victims aren't just statistics, but we can't do it without you. Hit that subscribe button, share this video, make sure Michelle and Layla's story reaches every corner of the internet. Because what I'm about to tell you next is going to make you sick. The clock was ticking, and Warren knew exactly what he was going to do. Let's talk about the day Michelle and Layla vanished. March 12, 2023, 5:00 in the morning. Michelle, Layla, and Kirkland Warren show up at the home of an acquaintance in Vancouver. It's early, too early for most people to be awake, but there they are. Layla stays inside the residence with the acquaintance while Michelle and Warren leave together. Where they went, what was said, what happened during those hours, we may never know the full truth. But what happened next would haunt everyone involved. 8 a.m., 3 hours later. Warren returns to the acquaintance's home, same car. But something is very, very wrong. The acquaintance looks into the passenger seat and sees Michelle slumped over, completely unresponsive. Passed out, Warren claims. But here's the detail that makes your stomach drop. Michelle is naked from the waist down. The acquaintance doesn't know what to do, doesn't know what to say, probably doesn't want to believe what they're seeing. Warren doesn't explain, doesn't ask for help. He just walks into the house, collects Layla, puts her in his Dodge Charger, and drives away. Michelle's still unconscious in the front seat, Layla in the back. That was the last time anyone saw them alive. Hours turn into days. Michelle's phone goes silent. No calls, no texts, nothing. Her family starts to panic. This isn't like her. Michelle always checked in, always answered, always let someone know where she and Layla were. March 18, 6 days after they disappeared. Nicole Norris, Meshe's mother, files a missing persons report. She tells police the family hasn't heard from Meshe or Layla in a week. A whole week. No contact. No sign of them anywhere. The Vancouver Police Department launches an investigation immediately, and it doesn't take long for them to zero in on one person, Kirkland Warren. His history with Meshe, the protection order, the threats, the shooting, the jail calls where he demanded she drop the charges, everything pointed to him. March 19, one day after the missing persons report. Police arrest Warren not for murder, not yet, but for tampering with a witness and violating the no-contact order. They bring him in for questioning, hoping he'll crack, hoping he'll tell them where Meshe and Layla are. But Warren isn't talking. He lawyers up immediately, shuts down, refuses to cooperate. Meanwhile, investigators move fast. They execute search warrants on Warren's home and seize 2 vehicles registered to him, along with multiple cell phones. And what they find inside those vehicles is chilling. The Dodge Charger, the same car the acquaintance saw Meshe unconscious in, is a crime scene on wheels. Blood in the front seat, in the back seat, smeared, dried, unmistakable. Shell casings, .22 caliber, scattered inside the vehicle like breadcrumbs of violence. Children's clothing, small, bright, matching exactly what Layla was believed to be wearing on March 12th. And Meshe's purse, her ID still inside, left behind like she'd never need it again. In Warren's second vehicle, investigators find a .22 caliber pistol, but the most damning evidence, Warren's cell phone. GPS data pulled from the phone shows that on March 13, just one day after Meshe and Layla disappeared, Warren's phone pinged in a rural area near Washougal, Washington. A remote stretch of road, thick woods, the kind of place you'd go if you didn't want to be found, or if you were hiding something. Investigators mark the location. They don't know it yet, but that ping is about to lead them to the most horrific discovery of their careers. For now, though, the family is still holding on to hope, still praying, still believing that somehow, some way, Meshe and Layla will come home. But hope was already gone. While the family clung to hope, investigators were building a case that painted a horrifying picture. The search warrants executed on March 19 had given police everything they needed to know Warren was responsible. They just didn't have the bodies yet. Let's walk through what they found piece by piece, because every single item tells part of this nightmare. Inside that Dodge Charger, the blood wasn't just a few drops. It was in multiple locations. Front seat, back seat. Indicating violence had occurred in that vehicle, the kind of violence that leaves stains you can't wash away. Those .22 caliber shell casings scattered inside the car, they matched the caliber of the pistol found in Warren's second vehicle. Ballistics would later confirm what investigators already suspected. This was the murder weapon. The children's clothing found in the car was small, colorful, innocent, the kind of outfit a 7-year-old would wear. Family members would later confirm it matched what Layla had on when she was last seen. Finding those clothes in Warren's car meant one thing. Layla had been in that vehicle, and whatever happened to her happened there. Meshe's purse with her ID inside told its own story. Women don't leave their purses behind. They don't abandon their identification unless they can't take it with them, unless someone else is in control. The cell phone seized from Warren's possession included one that belonged to Meshe. He'd taken it, kept it, maybe to monitor who was looking for her, maybe to buy himself time, maybe just because he could. But the most critical piece of evidence was that GPS data. Warren's bail was increased to $1 million. GPS monitoring was finally ordered, though it was far too late to matter now. His Arkansas bail was revoked, meaning even if he somehow posted the Washington bail, he'd be held as a fugitive. He wasn't going anywhere. But he still wasn't talking. Every attempt to get him to reveal where Meshe and Layla were hit a wall. He sat in that interrogation room, stone-faced, giving nothing away. The family, meanwhile, was falling apart. Nickel Norris couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every phone call, every knock on the door sent her heart racing, hoping for good news that never came. Ricardo Melendez and other family members were out searching, driving through neighborhoods, posting flyers, begging anyone who'd seen anything to come forward. Layla's father, Javante Stewart, was living every parent's worst nightmare. His little girl was out there somewhere and he couldn't protect her. Days dragged on. March 20th, March 21st. Still nothing. And then, March 22, 2023, everything changed. A dog walker was out in a rural area near Washougal, enjoying the morning, when they noticed something strange down a ravine off the side of the road. At first, it looked like mannequins, life-sized, oddly positioned, partially visible through the brush. But something felt wrong. They called 911. Clark County Sheriff's deputies responded to the area near Southeast Sunset View and Wooding Road. They climbed down the embankment, pushing through thick brush and uneven terrain. And there, discarded like trash, were two bodies. Two bodies, partially clothed, thrown down a ravine like they were nothing. Vancouver police detectives were called to the scene. The location matched perfectly with the GPS ping from Warren's phone on March 13. This was it. This was where he'd been. The bodies were carefully recovered and transported to the Clark County Medical Examiner's office. Identification was made through fingerprints and other means. Meshe Melendez, 27 years old. Layla Stewart, 7 years old. The family's worst nightmare was confirmed. 10 days of searching, praying, hoping. All of it ended in the most devastating way possible. But the horror didn't stop there. Autopsies revealed both Meshe and Layla had been shot in the head with a small caliber weapon, a .22 caliber firearm, the same type found in Warren's vehicle. Layla had been shot twice, Meshe once, a single bullet to her left temple. Execution-style killings, cold, deliberate, final. And then came the detail that turned this case from a double murder into something even more monstrous. Layla's body was found naked from the waist down, the same way Meshe had been seen in Warren's car that morning of March 12. Investigators knew they had to check for signs of sexual assault. Samples were collected from Layla's body and sent for DNA analysis. The results came back, and they confirmed what everyone feared but hoped wasn't true. Semen, matching Kirkland Warren's DNA, found on a 7-year-old child. Before he killed her, Warren had sexually assaulted Layla Stewart, a little girl who loved school, who loved her friends, who loved her mother. A child who should have been safe, a child who should have had her whole life ahead of her. Instead, she was violated, shot twice in the head, and dumped in the woods. This wasn't just murder, this was depravity, this was evil in its purest form. Warren had beaten and killed Meshe, the mother of his child, the woman he once claimed to love. Then he raped and murdered her 7-year-old daughter. And after all of that, he threw their half-clothed bodies down a ravine and went about his life like nothing had happened. For 10 days, he knew exactly where they were. For 10 days, he watched the family search, watched the news coverage, watched the community rally, and he said nothing. Javante Stewart, Layla's father, spoke through tears. Every day I wake up with the pain knowing my girl will never grow up.
Every day I wake up with the pain knowing that my little girl will never grow up.
Lachey Gates, Layla's aunt, stood outside the courthouse and said what everyone was thinking. We will never see her smile again or hear her laughter. We will never see her grow, achieve her dreams, or live the life she deserves. Our family has been torn apart by grief and the endless questions that haunt us every day. Why? Why did this happen? Why was Warren free? Why didn't the system protect them? Those questions would echo for years.
My niece was full of life and potential. taken away in a moment of senseless violence. This has hurt me so much. I barely eat, sleep, nightmares.
On March 31, 2023, Kirkland Warren was formally booked and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and first-degree child molestation. He pleaded not guilty. Let that sink in for a second. A 7-year-old child, violated and murdered. What would you do if this was your family? Drop a comment demanding justice for Meshe and Layla right now. And if you haven't liked this video yet, do it. These stories need to be heard, and we need your help to make that happen. For over a year, the case moved through the courts. Prosecutors prepared for battle, signaling they'd called 77 witnesses. The trial was set for September 9, 2024, and expected to last 2 to 3 weeks. But on September 5th, just days before trial, Warren changed his plea. Guilty to first-degree aggravated murder, guilty to second-degree murder, and an Alford plea to first-degree child molestation, meaning he acknowledged the evidence against him without admitting guilt to raping Layla. October 8, 2024, Sentencing Day. Judge David Gregerson didn't mince words. A crime of this magnitude demands a punishment commensurate with the offense to the victims and to the community. This court sees no persuasive reason why this defendant should not receive the maximum punishment under Washington law. Life in prison without the possibility of parole. The courtroom was packed. Purple balloons, the color for domestic violence awareness, lined the courthouse entrance outside. Family members delivered gut-wrenching statements. Javante Stewart, Layla's father: "Losing a child is an unimaginable tragedy, and it's hard to think of all the milestones she will never get to experience." Lachey Gates, Layla's aunt: "I can't even make any more memories. The 7 years was all I had, and it's all because of Kirkland Warren." Ricardo Melendez, Meshe's brother, called him exactly what he was: a soulless being, a narcissist. The prosecuting attorney choked up multiple times describing what Warren did to Layla, calling him too cowardly to face what he'd done, instead throwing their half-clothed bodies down a ravine and making the family suffer for 10 days. As Warren was led out in handcuffs, the courtroom erupted. People shouted "child molester" and "coward" as he disappeared down the hallway. Justice was served, but it would never bring them back. September 2024. The family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Clark County, and the allegations are damning. The fight for accountability continues. Clark County declined to comment on pending litigation. So how do we make sure this never happens again? Because laws on paper mean nothing if nobody enforces them. Bail reform. A man out on bail for murder in another state should never walk free after shooting at his ex's apartment. Period. Courts need to consider the full criminal history, not just what's happening in their jurisdiction. GPS monitoring enforcement. If a judge orders an ankle monitor, it needs to be installed before release, not after, not eventually, before. Warren was ordered to wear one and walked out without it. That's unacceptable. Danger assessments matter. Warren scored 31 on a lethality scale, where anything over 18 means extreme risk. When the science screams someone's going to kill, believe it. Protection order violations equals jail time. Warren violated his no-contact order twice from jail. He failed to report to pretrial services. He showed up to court days later and nobody arrested him. Violations need immediate consequences. Cross-state communication. Washington and Arkansas failed to coordinate. If Warren's Arkansas bail had been revoked faster, he'd have been held as a fugitive. Bureaucracy killed Meshe and Layla. Lachey did everything right. She reported the abuse, got the restraining order, cooperated with police. The system still failed her. Meshe and Layla were buried together in a white casket with pink lining. 300 people gathered at their vigil. Printed on the programs: "Too beautiful for earth, together forever." Side by side. Layla will never go to prom, never graduate, never fall in love. never become the person she was meant to be. Mayshay will never see her daughter grow up, never watch her dreams come true, all because the system chose paperwork over protection. Warren is behind bars for life. But that doesn't erase the 10 days Nicole Nora spent searching for her girls. It doesn't bring back the laughter, the memories, the future that was stolen. Thanks for watching Shadows of Crime. Subscribe, like, and share this story. Drop a comment. What needs to change? Stay safe out there.